I got bullied throughout high school, and my mom did nothing because she was dating the bully's dad. Years later, I got revenge. I, 22F, have been staying away from home for the past 4 years. I moved out for college at 18 and then ended up getting a job there, so I didn't come back. I did visit occasionally, but that was about it. To be honest, it's not like I actually miss the place where I grew up, since my childhood and teenage years were not very pleasant. Growing up, I was bullied relentlessly for just about everything. My dad passed away when I was 10 years old, so I grew up kind of poor. I mean, there was food on the table every day, but that was the bare minimum. I was also really tall and thin, so I looked very lanky, which also became something people would bully me about, calling me Slender Man and stuff. I tried to laugh it off, but it hurt. Things got particularly bad in high school, and people got way meaner. There was a group of girls who wouldn't pass up any chance to make fun of me and bully me. They would bully everyone in general, to be fair, but I was one of their favorites. It made me insecure about almost everything, from my weight to the way I lived. I wanted to disappear altogether. It was so bad. One time these girls bullied me over the length of my jeans. They ended right above my ankles because I was too tall for them, but I didn't want to ask my mom to buy me another pair, so I just kept wearing them. They wouldn't stop making fun of me, so I ended up running to the girls' bathroom in tears and locked myself in a stall. I let myself cry for a few minutes, but when I tried to leave, I realized the bathroom had been locked from the outside. I could hear the girls snickering and giggling when I started banging on the door from the inside, and I guess they only scattered when the janitor came by and let me out. Even after that, there wasn't much I could do because of my mom. After the first few instances of bullying, I told my mom about what was happening, but instead of backing me up, she told me to keep quiet about it and let it slide. I never understood why exactly she wanted me to stay silent, and even after I asked her a gazillion times, she refused to say anything other than that we were poor and couldn't afford to go picking fights with everyone who made fun of us. She said that she was busy working all day and didn't have the time to go to school with me just to complain about a bunch of girls. She told me that I needed to be tough. Not just that, but she also literally forbade me from complaining about them myself, since it would inevitably lead to the parents being involved, and she didn't want to entertain any of that. I didn't want to let things slide all the time, but I had to since my mom wanted me to, and I knew how hard she worked. So I guess I owed her that much. After school ended, I started college in another state, and that was like the fresh start I desperately needed. My dad had left me a college fund before he passed, so it was all taken care of, and my mother would send me money periodically as well. I took up a part-time job in college, since I had some time to kill after classes, so I had enough money to occasionally buy a new outfit or two. People were a lot more mature there, and nobody made fun of me anymore. Everyone was quite warm and welcoming. I visited home during the holidays to meet my mother and some friends, but deep down I was quite happy living away from home, since it only reminded me of the bad times. Anyway, fast forward to a couple of days ago. I came back home for Christmas, and since this was my first holiday back home as a working woman, I decided to bring my mom a gift. I got her a really pretty dress and shoes to go with it, since I wanted to give her a token of appreciation for raising me to the best of her abilities, even in the worst of times. But before I could surprise her, my mom ended up surprising me. A few days before I was supposed to come back, she messaged me saying that she's been seeing a man for a couple of months now, and that she thought it was finally time to introduce me to him, because I was old enough to accept it. I was thrilled for her, since my mom had been single for most of her life after my dad's passing, so this seemed good for her. I found it a bit weird that she'd never mentioned this man before, but I tried not to take it personally since she was just protecting me. I asked her about this person's name, but she refused to tell me anything and said that it was all meant to be a surprise. So, I only met my mother's mystery boyfriend after I flew back home a couple of days ago, and I'm still so angry about all of it. When I came back home, my mom told me that her boyfriend was already there with his kids and blindfolded me to walk me to the living room. I was excited to meet these people and even bought a box of chocolates and flowers for them. But as soon as she took the blindfold off, my stomach dropped because the girl standing before me was the same one who had bullied me for several years in high school and was now smiling at me as if nothing had happened. She was holding the hand of her little brother, who must have been around 14 or 15. I could hear her dad talking to me, but couldn't comprehend anything since my head felt so fuzzy and weird. After a few minutes of stunned silence, I turned around and left while he was still talking about how nice it was to finally meet me. I walked upstairs to my room without a word, and I could hear my mom's boyfriend asking if I was all right. I walked into my room and locked it so that nobody could enter, and tried to take deep breaths, but my mother had come after me and was telling me off about how rude I was being and that I needed to come back down and apologize to her boyfriend right away. I cut her off mid-sentence and asked her how long she had been seeing this man, because I believed she'd been lying on purpose about him so I'd still visit, and then she could spring this on me. Her hesitance to tell me how long told me everything I needed to know, and when she admitted that this had been going on for a while now, almost 7 years, it all made sense. It finally added up. I understood why she didn't want me to ever complain about being bullied, since she was more interested in protecting this man and his daughter than her own daughter. I couldn't believe this was happening, and I told her to leave me the hell alone since I couldn't stand to see her. She tried to argue, saying that she knew I missed my dad, which is why she'd kept it all a secret from me for so long, as if my dad was the reason I was so pissed off at her. I told her that she'd lied to me throughout my teen years and continued to let me get bullied despite having the power to stop it. She chose to stay silent and let me suffer instead of having a spine and telling her boyfriend to teach his daughter not to bully others. I don't think I could forgive her for that. Not now and not ever. She tried to explain that back then their relationship was just starting out and she didn't want to mess it all up because of his daughter's behavior. She tried to defend whatever she did, but I just couldn't accept it. After a while, she left and said that she'd be ready to talk to me once I was out of my room. She said that she'd serve dinner at 9 o'clock, so I'd better come down soon. I was in no mood to talk to her, or anyone else. I was so horrified and angry that my mom had chosen to be his girlfriend over being my mom. Her goal should have been to protect me first, not her relationship. I don't even know how she could think that her explanation would make me feel okay about this situation. The more I sat in my room and thought about it, the angrier I got about the unfairness of it all. So, I did something that might have been a little rash and stupid of me. I called the cops and reported my mother. I wanted to sue her for everything she'd done to me, but instead of going to the lawyers, in my state of mind, I ended up calling the police to press charges. They did show up after a while, and it took me some time to explain what had happened while my mom and her boyfriend explained that I was just being hysterical. The cops sort of understood that I was going through a breakdown of some kind and explained that I'd be better off with a family lawyer, then left. After they left, I was still feeling pretty worked up and could feel a panic attack coming on, but my mom flipped out on me and refused to let me go back up to my room. She screamed at me, calling me an ungrateful brat and saying that calling the cops on her was the lowest thing I could do, while her boyfriend agreed that I had indeed gone too far. I wanted to fight back, but my chest was tightening and I felt really dizzy, so I just didn't have the energy for it. A few minutes into it, I think I must have collapsed and fainted or something because the next thing I remember is waking up in my old bed, covered in sweat. I've spent the last couple of days avoiding her and being holed up in my room, and at this point, I don't know what to do. I haven't talked to my mom since that day, but I'm still shaken by everything. I've been getting texts from my mom saying that she's sorry and that she didn't know how to tell me, but I really don't want to talk to her right now.